Inshallah, it's the final part of the story hour. But before we begin, inshallah, I'll invite Hafiz Muhammad Khoda to come forward and recite a portion of the Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله فيغفر لمن يشاء ويعذب من يشاء والله على كل شيء قدير. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. صدق الله العظيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. My dearest respected brothers and sisters listening at home, inshallah today's session is going to be brief and concise, taking into consideration that possibly it might be the last day between Asr and Maghrib that we might have for this year's Ramadan. So very quickly inshallah, we've covered three companions from the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, wherein Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that take Quran from four. So what is the name of the first sahabi that we did with I'm not taking answers from you today, I'm sorry. Yeah, children have had their session, today is adult session inshallah. Ji, come on, very very quickly, because Ji, louder. Abdullah bin Masud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Ji, 2-3 qualities that we discussed. Anyone? Yep, he radiyallahu ta'ala anhu recited the Quran to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Ji? Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Ji, another companion that we've discussed. Salim, Mawla, Huzaifa. Ji, okay. So yes, these are the three companions that we've discussed so far. Today, my respected brothers in Islam, we are going to discuss the fourth Sahabi from this series, from whom Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that seek Quran from them. After the 10th year of Islam, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was inviting people from outside Makkah Mukarramah to come to Makkah and learn about Islam. And at the same time, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was sending the Sahaba Kiram to the outskirts and beyond Makkah Mukarramah to go and do da'wah and tabligh. So amongst these Sahaba, there was a young Sahabi by the name of Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Now Mus'ab bin Umair, he's not the fourth Sahabi. But in order for us to understand a little bit more, and it'll tie in really well to the end of the month of Ramadan, Mus'ab bin Umair, my respected brothers in Islam, he was a young person. And this youngster, he literally had everything going in favor for him. So in Makkah Mukarramah, it is known that he, Mus'ab bin Umair, he was the well-dressed person. He had the best of all gadgets. All the people, the youngsters of Makkah Mukarramah, they wanted to be associated to Mus'ab bin Umair. They wanted to be his friend. His mother used to pamper him by making sure that he's got the latest gadgets, the best of all footwear, the best of all clothing. On one occasion, Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he has the interaction with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and instantly he recites the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Mus'ab bin Umair's life, it now totally changes. That very same house which was a palace for him now has become a prison for him. That very same mother that used to pamper him, now because he's accepted Islam, she now isolates him from everything that she has. Those very same friends that wanted to be his associates, now they do not want to be around Mus'ab bin Umair. Why? Only because now he has recited the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. He was a young Sahabi. My friends, even before Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to Medina Munawwara, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, amongst the first group of companions that go for da'wah and tabligh was Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. A young Sahabi, influential Sahabi. And as he goes to Medina Munawwara, he is now inviting people towards Islam. He's inviting people towards Tawheed. He's inviting people towards Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now amongst the people of Medina, there is a group of approximately 70 companions who have now accepted Islam through the envoy and through the hands of Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The power of young people. So now the next year, the following year, this group of 70 individuals, they come to Makkah Mukarramah to perform Hajj. And they take bay'ah, allegiance, on the hands of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Amongst this group of Sahaba, there was a young Sahabi. This young Sahabi is the fourth Sahabi of our series, and his name is Mu'az ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. My friends, he's only approximately 11 to 12 years of age. Mu'az ibn Jabal, 11 or 12 years of age. And the books of Seerah, they describe him as a charming young man. He was well dressed. He had the best of looks. He had curly hair. When he spoke very eloquently. He had shining white teeth. And when he was sitting down, everyone used to look at him in awe. Mu'az ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, my respected brothers in Islam, he takes bay'ah on the hands of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and now he becomes a da'i, and he goes back to Medina Munawwara. When he goes back to Medina Munawwara, he has another friend whose name is also Mu'az ibn Amr. So he invites Mu'az ibn Amr towards Islam. His friend Mu'az, youngsters, they attract youngsters. Mu'az ibn Amr, he accepts Islam. But Mu'az ibn Amr, he says that, you know, my father, he's an idol worshipper. We need to do something. So what do the two Mu'azis do? They play a prank. But this prank wasn't so that people have a laugh. like we see today on YouTube and many other social media channels. These two Mu'azis, they say that we are going to play a prank on my father to draw him towards Islam and to draw him towards Tawheed. So just like Ibrahim alayhi salam, what do the two Mu'azis do? They take the idol at night and they dump it in the rubbish ground. So in the morning, Mu'az ibn Amr's father wakes up and he realizes that, you know what, where's the idol gone? He sees that it's in the rubbish ground. He brings it home, cleans it, puts fragrance on it, and he says that, you know what, I need to make sure this doesn't happen again. The next day, the both Mu'azis, they do the same thing. The third day, they do the same thing. On the third day, the father, he now realizes that I need to put an axe on the neck of the idol, and he addresses the idol by saying that fadfa an nafsik, that you need to protect yourself now. You need to protect yourself. Now these two young boys, young age, 10, 12, 13. So if you want to teach your parents a lesson, you can draw lessons from Mu'az ibn Jabal, if it is in the right direction. So what do? They do the same thing. They take the idol and they dump it. What happens? Because the niyat was clean, because the intention was sincere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants the father of Mu'az ibn Amr with the shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Now my respected brothers in Islam, the Sahaba Kiram, they are now coming to Medina Munawwara. And amongst the first things that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam does with his companions is that he pairs the Muhajirun with the Ansar. He makes them brothers. He pairs them so that one can look after the other. Mu'az ibn Jabal, he didn't have much. He was only young. But guess who Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam pairs him up with? Just take a guess. I'll give you permission to answer. MashaAllah, very good. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the first companion of our series. Now just think to yourself that these two young lads, companions, are now spending time together in the house. Can you imagine what their conversations would have been, their discussions would have been, trying to understand the Quran, trying to draw themselves closer to the Quran. And this is amongst the reasons why Mu'az ibn Jabal, he is one of the scribes during the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is one of the reasons why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved him so much. He loved him so much that on one occasion Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says to Mu'az ibn Jabal that, Ya Mu'az. So Mu'az replies, Labbaik wa sa'daik ya Rasulullah. Again Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Ya Mu'az. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mu'az replies, Labbaik ya Rasulullah. Ya Mu'az, Labbaik ya Rasulullah. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in response, he says to Mu'az ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, O Mu'az, Wallahi, I swear in the name of Allah, Inni uhibbuka, I love you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam taking a qasam that I swear in the name of Allah, O Mu'az, I love you for the sake of Allah. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam teaches Mu'az a dua. And he says, O Mu'az, after every salah, make this dua. Are we going to learn this inshallah? A beautiful dua, especially at this time towards the end of the month of Ramadan. Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. After every salah, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after saying, you know, you only tell someone whom you love something good to memorize and make dua for. We are weak. We know in the month of Ramadan, only because shaitan is locked up, we could turn towards Quran. In this dua, we are asking, Oh Allah, we need your help. A'inni ala dhikrika, so that we remember you. We read your Quran. We perform your salah. We do your azkar. Wa shukrik. And so that we may favor upon you, we may do your shukr, we may show our gratitude towards you. And finally in this dua, beautiful dua, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to Hazrat Muaz ibn Jabal that, O Muaz, wa husni ibadatik, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the tawfiq and the ability to do your a'mal in the best possible way possible. So this was the dua that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches him. Now my respected brothers in Islam, Muaz ibn Jabal, he takes part in the battle of Badr at approximately a tender age of 15, and he becomes so knowledgeable that at this age Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives him the authority to issue fatwas in the absence of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that a'lamu ummati bil halal wal haram Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. You know, this a young child, if a young boy at that age was to be amongst us, we dismiss him. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that the most knowledgeable of my companions when it comes to matters in relation to halal and haram is not Abu Bakr, it's not Umar, it is Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that in Jannah, amongst the imam of all the ulama and the mujtahideen, it's going to be no other but Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to stand behind Muaz ibn Jabal in Jannah, inshallah. So he was loved, he was beloved, everyone used to like and listen to him. He was very eloquent when it came to the recitation of the Quran. But like at times, there's always some problems. So on one occasion, a group of Sahaba, they went to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they complained about Muaz ibn Jabal. And they said, O Nabi of Allah, Muaz is leading us in Isha Salah, but his Salah is too long. He says his Salah is too long. He's reading Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran in Isha Salah. And we have new Muslims amongst us, we have elderly amongst us. Now can you imagine in Quwwatul Islam if Maulana Ahmad with his eloquent voice was to recite these surahs in Isha Salah? Outside the committee's office, everyone would be there that, you know what, sort this person out. So this is literally what happened. And you know, when I say that seerah is a running commentary, there is comfort for the imams in here. That you know what, sometimes when we think our musalli is saying this and that, they said it to the best of all people, Muaz ibn Jabal, take comfort from him. Our community of Quwwatul Islam is bound to do it. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam then said to Muaz ibn Jabal that, oh Muaz, you know what, shorten your salah. And he recommended few surahs for Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu to recite. Now my respected brothers in Islam, amongst the great qualities of Muaz ibn Jabal, like with the other companions, he used to speak the truth. He never used to be shy away from telling people what was right and wrong. And on one occasion, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he made a judgment. And Muaz, he went to him. And Muaz said that, you know what, you've made a mistake here. Muaz and Umar, it wasn't like Umar radiallahu ta'ala wasn't a faqih, he was a faqih in his own right. But Muaz said, and this is where, you know, sometimes our society has become such that, you know what, an alim is speaking against another alim, or an alim is having a difference of opinion with another alim. So what? Literally, so what? Here, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu made a verdict, and Muaz is disagreeing, so he goes to Umar and he says that, oh Umar, you've made a mistake here. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu didn't say that, no, you're wrong and I'm right and so and so. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said to Muaz that, oh Muaz, women do not give birth to people like you. Indeed, you are right. And he corrected his own judgment. Our problem is we've not understood seerah, and that's why every small thing that happens, we are blowing it out of proportion. Again, speaking the truth, at the time of Tabuk, when Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu did not join the convoy, there was a companion who said to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, O Nabi of Allah, it's highly possible that Ka'b, money and wealth has overpowered him. Do you know who spoke up? Muaz. Muaz said to that Sahabi that, how dare you? What you have just said, it's not true. I know Ka'b. It's not that his wealth has overpowered him. And that's why right until the end, Ka'b ibn Malik, he used to make dua for Muaz ibn Jabal. Today, if someone says something ill, we just let it right by. We don't take the courage to speak the truth. Muaz radiallahu ta'ala anhu, my respected brothers in Islam, is amongst the Sahaba who was knowledgeable. Halal and haram was his main priority in terms of acquiring this knowledge. And furthermore, he used to speak up the truth. Now, as Islam was spreading, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he decided to send Hazrat Muaz ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu to go to the people of Yemen to teach them Islam. Now, my respected brothers in Islam, for the companions to be away from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam wasn't easy. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he instructs Muaz that I want you to go. Then he asked him a few questions that how are you going to make the judgments? So Muaz radiallahu ta'ala anhu replies. And as Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is bidding him farewell, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says to Muaz that, O Muaz, it is highly possible that after today, if you were to come back to Medina Munawwara, it is highly possible that you and me, we are not going to meet in the physical form. My friends, we go to Medina, we know when we've got to leave Medina, it is painful. Sahaba, they lived and died for Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muaz radiallahu ta'ala is now being sent to Yemen, and he knew instantly that when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that it's possible we will not meet again, he knew that this was the last mulaqat and last meeting between the two people. Muaz radiallahu ta'ala, he starts to cry. And Seerah says that the people who are now around Muaz, they also start to cry. And Muaz radiallahu ta'ala, so much so that Seerah tells us that when he reaches Yemen, the people of Yemen, they could see the effects of him crying. Why? Because of the departure from Medina Munawwara and because of the separation between him and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now, whilst he is in Yemen, he is now teaching, propagating Islam. And after Yemen, he moves on to Damascus. And on one occasion, my respected brothers in Islam, there was a person by the name of Abu Idris al-Khawlani. He comes and he sits in the masjid and he sees that there is this halakat going on. And he sees that every time someone doesn't know a mas'ala, they're all turning towards this young boy. So he asks that who is this person? So he is now notified that this person is no other but Muaz ibn Jabal. So he decides that I am going to go and meet Muaz ibn Jabal in the morning after the Fajr Salah. He sits in front of Muaz ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he says, "Oh Muaz, I love you for the sake of Allah." So Muaz radiallahu ta'ala anhu says, "Allah, say qasam, you love me for the sake of Allah." So this person, Abu Idris al-Khawlani, he says, "I swear I love you for the sake of Allah." Muaz ibn Jabal says, "Allah, say qasam, you love me for the sake of Allah." So he says, "I love you for the sake of Allah." Then Muaz radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he tells him the hadith, "Abshir, that become glad tidings be upon you, because I've heard from my Nabi that wajabat muhabbati lil mutahabbina fiyya, that Allah says that my love has become wajib upon those individuals who love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wal mutajalisina fiyya, and those who are sitting together for the sake of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says my love has become wajib upon them." My respected brothers in Islam, from this I remember what Mufti Arif Sahib mentioned few days ago, and for my English audience I will repeat. How many times have we expressed our love to our brothers? It's the sunnah. On one occasion, a Sahabi comes sitting in the company of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Nabi of Allah, I love that person." Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, "Have you told him?" He said, "No." He told him that, "You know what, stand up, go and tell him that you love him." And again the hadith, Why? Because on the day of judgment, their faces will be shining. Forget people. Have we ever expressed our love to our imams or the muaddin or the khuddam, that you know what, we love you for the sake of Allah? Our neighbors, during the day of Eid, we will exchange gifts, which is sunnah. Why not we try and add this sunnah also by expressing our love to the people that we are going to meet? On one occasion, a Bedouin, he comes and he sits in the company of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asks the question to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mata sa'a, that when is Qayamat going to come? So the Sahaba Kiram, they absolutely loved when a Bedouin used to come and ask questions to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, like in madrasa classes, at times you've always got that one person who's always asking cheeky questions and everyone else buzzes off it. Okay? This Bedouin was that one person. He was asking the question and Sahaba were just absolutely raving from the questions. So he asked, when is Qiyamah going to come? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied by asking that, what preparations have you made? You know what this Sahabi said? Hazrat Anas says that we were so happy with the answer this Bedouin gave and the reply Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to him. This Bedouin says that, O Nabi of Allah, I've got no deeds. I've got no deeds. The only deed I've got is I swear in the name of Allah, I love Allah and His Rasul. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in reply, he said, Al-mar'u ma'aman ahabba, that a person is going to be with whom he loves on the day of judgment. You love Allah and His Rasul, you will be with Allah and His Rasul on the day of judgment. My friends, another Sahabi, he said that, you know what, I can't give so much charity like Abdurrahman ibn Auf. I can't do so much salah. I can't do so much som. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do you love them? The companion said, yes, of course I love them. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you will be with whom you love. My respected brothers in Islam, these companions, we can't be like them. We can't be like them. We love them. We try and follow their footsteps. We express our love towards them. Then inshallah it is hoped that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also give us the space and the standing next to these companions, inshallah. Now, as he is in Damascus, Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was the governor, he passes away because there was a plague, Amwas. Almost 25,000 Sahaba Kiram, they were martyred. Muaz ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu was also there. He is now governing Damascus. My respected brothers in Islam, remember he was a very young Sahabi. 2 of his daughters died before him, and his own sons, they died before him. His wife died, and the following day he himself, Muaz ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he passed away in Damascus. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. A great contributor towards our deen. And what was his age when he passed away? What was his age? 34, 35. 34, 35. And yet Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that if you want to learn Quran, you learn from 4, and Muaz ibn Jabal is one of them. And my young friends, I started off with Mus'ab bin Umair. You know, all this, Mus'ab was the one who went as a da'i to Medina Munawwara. Muaz accepted Islam. And these young individuals, the transformation that they did in such a short life, collectively all of us put together, we would not be able to do this in 34 years of our lives. Allah blessed them with barakah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first of all, my respected brothers in Islam, short lessons. Mus'ab had to sacrifice everything for the sake of Islam. Today, as we move on beyond the month of Ramadan, we've heard so much, from cancelling culture by Mufti Ismail Saab, about drugs from Mulana Riyaz Saab, about the love of wealth from Mulana Ahmad Saab, and many other speakers. Not to take things at face value from Mulana Habibullah. These talks are not so that we can spend our time between Asr and Maghrib and so that we don't feel hungry. We need to take lessons from each and every single lesson, talk. And one of the greatest things that we can do as of today is, number 1, love people who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember these adiyah, these du'as. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was making this du'a, seeking help from Allah. We need to seek help from Allah. The moment the i'lan of Eid is done, we know how vulnerable we become. And if we are not guarding ourselves with the du'as, the masnoon du'as of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we are putting ourselves into the line of failure. So as we now move on, try and pull some action points. That this is the development plan I'm going to have between this Ramadan and next Ramadan. I am going to learn more about my Sahaba, because without me following the companions, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for doom. So now inshallah, as we move on beyond the month of Ramadan, my respected brothers in Islam, sacrifices will have to come. Mus'ab bin Umair, at the time of his shahada in the battle of Uhud, there wasn't enough cloth to cover him from head to toe. The most well-dressed person in Makkah, there wasn't enough cloth to cover him from head to toe. This deen comes with sacrifices. And if we think we are going to be well safeguarded without sacrifices, then me and you, we are living in Kukulan. It doesn't matter what resources we have around us, it's just not going to happen. So I end with the reminder of the dua, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to take the lessons that have been given to us from the lives of these four companions. Give us all the ability to love the four companions and the Sahaba Kiram Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'in. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه رضا نفسه زنة عرشه ومداد كلماته اللهم لك الحمد ولك الشكر كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك اللهم لك الحمد حمدا دائما مع دوامك ولك الحمد حمدا خالدا مع خلودك ولك الحمد حمدا لا منتهى له دون مشيئتك ولك الحمد حمدا عند كل طرفة عين وتنفس كل نفس اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم يا رب صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم جزا الله عنا نبينا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم بما هو أهله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين إلهي أنا عبدك العاصي أتاك مقرا بالذنوب وقد دعاك إن تغفر لي فأنت أهل لذاك وإن تطردني فمن يرحم سواك يا ربنا إن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين رب اغفر وارحم وتجاوز عما تعلم إنك أنت العز الأكرم ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم إنا نسألك الصحة والعفة والأمانة وحسن الخلق ورزاق القدر اللهم إنا نسألك إيمانا لا يرتد ونعيما لا ينفس ومرافقة نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم في أعلى جنتك جنة الخلد. يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا إلى طاعتك. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم آتنا نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعاء لا يستجاب لها. اللهم طهر قلوبنا من النفاق وألسننا من الكذب وأعمالنا من الرياء وعيوننا من الخيانة. اللهم إنك تعلم خائنة الأعين وما تخفي الصدور. لا إله إلا أنت الحليم الكريم. سبحان الله رب العرش العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا كربا إلا نفسته ولا ضرا إلا كشفته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اغفر لنا ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم اغفر موتانا وموتى المسلمين. اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم وسكنهم في الجنة واجعل قبورهم روضة من رياض الجنة. اللهم اغفر أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم ارحم أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم تجاوز عن أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم اهد أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم أصلح أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم إن قلوبنا ونواسينا وجوارحنا بيدك لم تملكنا منها شيئا فإذا فعلت ذلك بنا فكن أنت ولينا واهدنا إلى سواء الصراط واهدنا إلى سواء الصراط واهدنا سبل السلام. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا وأصلح ذات بيننا واهدنا سبل السلام ونجنا من الظلمات إلى النور. جنبنا الفواحش ما ظهر منها وما بطن. اللهم بارك لنا في أسماعنا وأبصارنا وقلوبنا وأزواجنا وذرياتنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم اجعلنا شاكرين لنعمتك. اللهم اجعلنا شاكرين لنعمتك. اللهم اجعلنا شاكرين لنعمتك مثنين بها قابليها واتمها علينا يا أرحم الراحمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. إنك حميد مجيد. إنك عفو کریم. یا اللہ ہم گنہگار ہیں. یا اللہ آپ ہمارے گناہوں کو بخشنے والے ہیں. پروردگار آپ کی ذات عالی کے علاوہ کوئی ہمارے گناہوں کو بخشنے والا نہیں. یا اللہ ہم گنہگار ہیں, سراپا مجرم ہیں. یا اللہ ہمارے تمام چھوٹے بڑے یا اللہ جانے میں انجانے میں کیے ظاہری باطنی جو بھی گناہ ہے تمام کو معاف فرما. یا اللہ یہ مبارک مہینہ آپ نے ہمیں عطا فرمایا. یا اللہ اس کی کما حق کہو قدردانی تو ہم سے نہیں ہو سکی, مگر میرے پروردگار آپ نے جو بھی توفیق عطا فرمائی, میرے پروردگار جو بھی ہم سے ٹوٹا پھوٹا روزے, تراویح, قیام, نوافل, تلاوت, دعائیں, ذکر و اذکار, درود پاک جو بھی ہوا وہ سب تیری ہی توفیق سے ہوا ہے, تیرے ہی فضل سے ہوا ہے. ہمارے گناہوں کا تقاضا تو یہ تھا کہ ہم محروم کر دیے جاتے, مگر میرے پروردگار آپ نے ہمیں توفیق عطا فرمائی. بس یہ آپ کا فضل ہے, آپ کا کرم ہے, آپ کا احسان ہے, آپ کی رحمتیں ہیں, آپ کی مہربانی ہے. آپ کے فضل و کرم اور مہربانیوں ہی سے امید رکھتے ہیں کہ آپ نے ہمیں بخش بھی دیا. اے پروردگار ہمارے تمام چھوٹے بڑے گناہوں کو بخش دو، اور آئندہ پوری زندگی یا اللہ ہر قسم کے گناہوں سے بچنے کی ہمیں توفیق عطا فرما۔ مکمل طور پر یا اللہ پورے اہتمام کے ساتھ تیری اطاعت اور فرما برداری کے ساتھ تیرے حبیب صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی سچی پکی محبت کے ساتھ آپ کی سنتوں کی پیروی کرتے ہوئے پروردگار ہمیں زندگی گزارنے کی توفیق عطا فرما۔ یا اللہ پاک پروردگار عالم ہم گنہگار ہیں، ہم سیاہ کار ہیں، ہم خطا کار ہیں، ہم مجرم ہیں۔ اے اللہ مگر تو بڑا ہی غفار اور ستار ہے، پروردگار ہمارے تمام گناہوں کو معاف فرما، پوری امت کے گناہوں کو معاف فرما، امت کے حال پر رحم فرما، امت کے حال کی اصلاح فرما، سب کو ایک اور نیک بنا، بلکہ ساری انسانیت کے حق میں رشد و ہدایت اور امن و سکون کے فیصلے فرما۔ اے اللہ پروردگار اللہم ارزقنا حبک وحب رسولک وحب من ينفعنا حبہ عندک، اللہم اعنا علی ذکرک وشکرک وحسن عبادتک، اللہم اعنا علی ذکرک وشکرک وحسن عبادتک، اللہم اعنا علی ذکرک وشکرک وحسن عبادتک، اللہم حبب الینا الایمان وزینہ فی قلوبنا وکرہ الینا الکفر والفسوق والعصیان واجعلنا من الراشدین المہدیین۔ یا اللہ ہم میں سے جس کے والدین آپ کو پیارے ہو چکے ہیں پروردگار ان کی مغفرت فرما، یا اللہ ان کی کروٹ کروٹ جنت نصیب فرما، ان کی قبروں کو رحمت و انوار سے بھر دے، اور ہماری طرف سے یا اللہ بہترین بدلہ نصیب فرما۔ ہمارے اساتذہ کرام جنہوں نے محنتیں کر کے تکلیفیں برداشت کر کے یا اللہ ہمیں تعلیم دی، ہماری تربیت فرمائی، اللہ ہماری طرف سے انہیں بھی بہترین جزا نصیب فرما، اور ہم سے جو ان کو توقع تھی کہ ہم بھی یا اللہ یہ دین کے کام کو کریں، یا اللہ اس توقع پر ہم ان کی پورے ہمیں بھی یہ توفیق عطا فرما کہ ہمیں بھی یا اللہ دین کا کام کریں، یا اللہ تیرے بندوں کے ساتھ خیر خواہی سے رہیں، ہمدردی سے رہیں، محبت سے رہیں، نفرتوں کو ہمارے دلوں سے نکال دے، کینہ، بغض، حسد، بدزنی، بدعملی، بد کرداری، بدگمانی، ان تمام رذائل سے ہمیں پاک و صاف فرما۔ یا اللہ تو بڑا ہی کریم ہے، یا اللہ ہم میں سے جو بیمار ہیں ان کو شفاء کاملہ عاجلہ دائمہ مستمرہ نصیب فرما۔ اذہب الباس رب الناس اشف انت الشافی لا شفاء الا شفاؤک شفاء لا یغادر سقما۔ یا ارحم الراحمین وفقنا لما تحب وترضى، وفقنا لما تحب وترضى، وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، اللهم لا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين ولا تنزع منا صالح ما أعطيتنا۔ یا ارحم الراحمین ہماری دعاؤں کو تیرے حبیب پاک صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کے صدقے اور طفیل قبول فرما۔ اس ماہ مبارک کی اور مقدس مہینے کی جو برکتیں اور رحمتیں جو تو نے وعدہ کیا ہے تیرے حبیب صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کے ذریعہ ہمیں پہنچا ہے، ہم یا اللہ اس کے لائق تو نہیں ہیں، مگر اللہ اپنے فضل سے ہمیں نواز دے، یا اللہ اپنے فضل سے ہمیں نواز دے، اپنے فضل سے ہمیں نواز دے۔ یا اللہ مصیبت زدہ لوگوں کی مصیبتوں کو دور فرما، پریشان حالوں کی پریشانیوں کو دور فرما۔ یا اللہ امت جہاں کہیں پریشان ہے ان کی پریشانیوں کو دور فرما، دشمنوں کے نرغے سے یا اللہ چھٹکارا نصیب فرما۔ یا اللہ جو بیچارے بے گناہ محض ایک نسبت دین کی وجہ سے یا اللہ قید و بند میں محبوس ہے، ان کو باعزت برات و رہائی نصیب فرما، باعزت برات و رہائی نصیب فرما۔ تو نے ہمیں جو نعمتیں دی ہے یا اللہ اس کی شکر گزاری نصیب فرما۔ یا اللہ کفران نعمت سے ہماری حفاظت فرما، اسراف اور فضول خرچیوں سے ہماری حفاظت فرما، تیری دی ہوئی نعمتوں کی قدردانی نصیب فرما۔ یا اللہ جیسا تیرے حبیب کا حکم ہے ہمیں کہ میانہ روی سے زندگی گزارے، یا اللہ آپ کی سنت کے مطابق، آپ کی اس مقدس تعلیم کے مطابق ہمیں بھی ہماری اولادوں کو بھی اور پوری امت کو زندگی گزارنے کی توفیق عطا فرما اللہم اہدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین نسألك ایمانا کاملا ونسألك ایمانا کاملا ویقینا صادقا نسألك ایمانا یباشر قلوبنا اللہم انا نسألك حسن الخاتمہ اللہم انا نسألك حسن الخاتمہ اللہم انا نسألك حسن الخاتمہ ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السمیع العلیم وتب علینا انك انت التواب الرحیم وصلی اللہ تعالی علی خیر خلقہ محمد وعلى آلہ وصحبہ اجمعین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین.